You're watching Forsaken Joe. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy the story. Let's begin. I was halfway through my meatloaf when Anne slid the envelope across the table like it was the check at a diner. No eye contact, no words. Just that slow push and the clink of paper against my plate. I looked at it, thick, sealed, no guessing what was inside. Anne kept chewing like it was any other Tuesday night. Her fork scraped across her plate, dragging through the gravy like it had done something wrong. She didn't glance up once, not even when I picked up the envelope and opened it right there, hands steady, heart flatlined. Divorce papers. Everything filled out, typed, neat, final. No questions, no accusations, no dramatic, we need to talk. Just a clean execution of something we'd both been dragging around for too long. Quick note, before we start, how's your day going, and where are you joining from? I didn't ask her why, I didn't ask anything. I just reached for the pen she'd already placed on the table, sitting there like it was waiting for me to stop pretending. The second I clicked it, her chewing slowed. She was watching me now, finally, probably expecting me to snap. Maybe throw the papers back at her, maybe ask who he was. But I didn't. I signed. Every page. No rush, no hesitation. Just finished it like I was closing out a job at the shop, done and dusted. Her expression cracked a little, but only just. She leaned back in her chair, arms folded, like she didn't know what to do now that I hadn't exploded. "You're not even gonna ask?" "No," I said. That was it, just one word. Then I stood up, took my jacket from the back of the chair, and walked out the front door. Didn't even grab my keys at first, just needed to be out of that house, away from the smell of microwave mashed potatoes and the silence that had been choking us for years. The March air hit me hard, cold, dry, and sharp, like it knew what had just happened. I lit a cigarette I didn't really want and walked toward the street with no plan, no destination, and no interest in going back. The truth was, I'd checked out long before she handed me that envelope. I just hadn't said it out loud. And now that it was finally over, I didn't feel broken or angry. I felt free. I didn't sleep that night. Just sat in the truck until the sun cracked over the rooftops. By 7, I was back inside, moving quiet through the house like a ghost. Anne was still in bed, flat on her back, mouth slightly open. Looked peaceful, like she hadn't just dropped a bomb on our life. I didn't say a word, didn't leave a note either. There was nothing left to say. I grabbed my duffel bags from the closet, packed up what I needed, clothes, tools, a few old pictures I didn't hate. Tossed it all in like I was clearing out a motel room, not a marriage. In less than an hour, I was done. I loaded everything into the bed of the truck and pulled out of that driveway for what I figured would be the last time. I didn't look back, just watched the rear view until the house disappeared. I found a month-to-month place out past the old lumber yard. Nothing fancy. 2 rooms, kitchenette, squeaky floors, and a mattress that felt like plywood. Didn't matter. I wasn't planning to stay long. The walls were beige, the air smelled like stale coffee and dust, and the guy in the unit next door blasted country radio from sunup to midnight. But it was mine. No arguments, no cold stares across the dinner table, just quiet. I dropped my bags in the corner, sat on the edge of the bed, and pulled out my phone. 4 missed messages, all from Tim. First one, heard from Anne. Everything okay? Second, you want to grab a beer later? Third, seriously, man, you good? Last one just said, call me. I stared at the screen for a second before texting back. It's done. I'm out. He answered with a thumbs up, followed by, you want to talk about it? I didn't. I typed, nothing to say. Then tossed the phone on the nightstand and let it buzz itself to death. Tim meant well, but I didn't need a therapy session. I needed to get my life untangled, paperwork and all. That afternoon, I found a local lawyer, Wilkins & Keller, tucked behind a hardware store. Place looked like it hadn't been updated since the Reagan years. Didn't care. I just wanted someone who could finish the job. The receptionist barely looked up when I walked in. I filled out the intake sheet and waited under a flickering light for 20 minutes before a guy in a gray suit called my name. Mr. Langford? Yeah. He waved me back to his office. Have a seat. I did. The chair creaked under me. He glanced over the file I handed him. Anne's paperwork, already signed. No kids, no joint property disputes, no contest on either side. Nope. He raised his eyebrows. You're the calmest walk-in I've had all month. I shrugged. What's the point in yelling about it? She made up her mind. He nodded slowly, tapping a pen against the folder. You want to claim anything? Alimony? Shared assets? Keep it simple. I don't want the house. She can have the furniture. I've got what I need. He gave me a look like I was either the most evolved ex-husband on earth or just didn't care. Truth was, both were kind of true. We'd been living like roommates for years. Same space, different worlds. She didn't see me, not really, and I didn't see her either. Not the version of her she became. Somewhere between year 6 and year 10, it all just faded out. No big fights, no screaming, just two people clocking in and out of a life they stopped building. He said the papers would be filed by the end of the week. I thanked him, stood up, and walked out. That was it. On the drive back to the apartment, the silence felt lighter. Not peaceful exactly, but clean. Like clearing out a shed full of junk you didn't realize was rotting. I didn't go back to the house, didn't text Anne, didn't answer Tim's next 2 messages either. I just let it all sit. Let it breathe, let myself breathe. I didn't head back to the apartment right away. Just kept driving with no real aim until I pulled into the gravel lot behind Duffy's. Place looked the same as always. Half-lit sign, cracked windows, and that sour smell of beer and fryer grease leaking through the door. It was a place people went to forget stuff. Fit the mood. I walked in, let my eyes adjust. Midweek, mid-afternoon crowd. A few old guys at the bar nursing whatever was cheap. Country music low in the background, something about broken hearts and whiskey. I didn't bother ordering anything. Josh was already in a booth in the back, hunched over a glass of water like he was hiding from someone. Anne's younger brother. We were never close, but not exactly enemies either. Just 2 guys dragged into the same mess. He saw me coming and slid a manila folder across the table before I even sat down. What's this? He didn't look up. Stuff you probably should have known a while ago. I flipped it open. A few printed texts, screenshots, a couple photos. Took me about 5 seconds to recognize the guy. Corey Bennett. Used to work with him at the garage back in 18. Lazy bastard, always late, always bragging about side gigs and screwing around behind people's backs. I let out a low breath. Figures. Josh shifted in his seat. Look, I didn't want to get involved. I told her that. But once she started spinning her version of things to the family, I couldn't sit quiet. How long? Best I can tell, a year, maybe more. He's been out of the picture for a few weeks now, but it was a thing. And yeah, she started it. I stared at the folder. Nothing surprising in it, not really. I wasn't shocked. I wasn't even angry. Just felt like someone confirmed what I already knew, but didn't bother saying out loud. She ever mentioned me? I asked. Josh nodded. Yeah, said you were checked out. Said she didn't feel seen anymore. I huffed. That's rich. She's not the only one to blame, but I'm not here to defend her, he said. Just figured you ought to know who you were really married to. I looked up at him for the first time. He seemed tired, not guilty, just fed up. You talked to her recently? Yesterday, she's spiraling, trying to rewrite the story. Wants everyone to think she's the victim. She always did have a way of skipping her part in things. He leaned forward. You gonna tell her you know? I shook my head. Not yet. Why not? Because it won't matter. She was already gone before he ever touched her. Josh leaned back, nodded like that made more sense than it should have. We sat in silence for a minute, letting the music fill in the gap. Then he stood up. I'm out. Do what you want with that. He left without waiting for a thank you. I sat there another 10 minutes, flipping through the papers. It wasn't just a fling. Dates were regular. Messages were long. She told Corey things she never told me, laughed with him, planned weekend getaways. It wasn't random. It was thought out. That stung more than the rest of it combined. I folded the file shut, slid it under my jacket, and walked out into the early evening air. Sky was gray, sun low. I could feel the folder pressed against my ribs the whole ride home, like it was digging in. Didn't eat dinner, didn't turn on the TV, just sat on the edge of the bed, flipping page by page. By the time I got to the last text, I realized something that stopped me cold. She didn't just cheat, she prepared for it. I shoved the folder into a drawer and didn't touch it again. Didn't call Anne, didn't text her either. She didn't deserve a reaction, but that didn't stop her from trying. The first message came 2 days later. Hope you're okay. No name, no punctuation, just bland concern typed out like she was checking on a sick coworker. I didn't open it, Next day, I know we need to talk eventually. No, we didn't. Then the tone shifted. You could at least act like an adult. That one made me laugh. She sent 6 more over the next week, all some version of guilt wrapped in politeness. One long one said she didn't know how we got here. I didn't bother reading the rest. I left them all unread or didn't open them at all. Let them rot in my inbox like meat left out in the sun. Work was steady. Oil changes, brake jobs, check engine lights. Most days I just put my head down, took the jobs, and went home. My hands stayed busy. My mind stayed out of trouble. Nights were quiet. Sometimes I'd grab fast food. Sometimes I'd microwave something sad. Didn't matter. Apartment was still beige. Still smelled like the last guy's bad habits, but it didn't feel temporary anymore. Just simple. I wasn't angry, not really, just done. That was the difference between her and me. She wanted drama. I wanted distance. I was halfway through a tire rotation on a Tuesday when my phone buzzed in my back pocket. I ignored it until the job was done, then checked. Tim. You seen what's going around? What? I texted back. Ann and Corey, people are talking. Guess someone found the texts. I stared at the screen for a second, then tucked the phone back in my pocket. So, it was out. I didn't ask who leaked it, I didn't care. Maybe Josh got tired of keeping it quiet. Maybe someone else saw them together too many times. Either way, it wasn't my mess to clean up. Later that night, I got a follow-up from Tim. You good? Yeah. That was all I said. He didn't push. I sat on the couch with a beer, letting the room hum with that cheap refrigerator buzz and the neighbor's radio bleeding through the wall again. Didn't bother turning on the TV. Just sat there, thinking about how fast things had unraveled. She was still playing the victim, still trying to rewrite the ending, but now the town was catching up, and I hadn't lifted a finger. That part felt good. Not out of spite, just justice. I didn't need revenge. I needed space. The silence was working just fine. 3 days passed, not a single message from Anne. Then came the knock. It was light, barely there, but it broke the quiet like a hammer to glass. I got up slow, not in a rush, and pulled the door open. She stood there with her arms folded tight over her chest, hoodie pulled up like she thought the fabric might shield her from the look on my face. Her hair was messy, makeup faded, like she hadn't planned this. Maybe she hadn't. Can I come in? She asked, eyes low. I didn't say anything, just stepped aside and let her walk past. She stood in the middle of the room like she was waiting for me to offer her a seat. I didn't. I leaned against the wall, arms crossed, and waited. She turned toward me, opened her mouth, then closed it again. Then tried. I know you're mad. I get it. You don't have to say anything. I wanted to explain. I didn't move, didn't blink. I didn't plan to cheat. It wasn't supposed to go that far. Corey he was there, and God, I don't even know what I was. She was pacing now, fidgeting with her sleeves like she wanted to peel her own skin off. I thought I needed something different, she said. I thought maybe I'd feel like myself again, and yeah, I blamed you. I blamed you for not seeing me, not hearing me. Still, I said nothing. Let her fill the silence with her own regrets. I told myself you didn't care anymore, that we were just going through the motions, and maybe we were. But I should have come to you first, not him. She stopped pacing and looked right at me. I messed up, and I know I don't deserve anything from you, but I needed to say it. I raised my chin a little. Done? Her face twitched. Number, not yet. She took a deep breath and sat on the edge of the couch. I wanted you to fight for me, she said, voice cracking for the first time. I kept waiting for you to blow up, to get jealous, to ask questions. I thought if you did, maybe it meant you still loved me. I walked over to the drawer, pulled out the manila folder, and set it down in front of her. She stared at it, then slowly opened it. Her face drained as she flipped through the pages, screenshots, timestamps, pieces of her words printed in black and white. She didn't speak. Her hands trembled. Where did you get this? I didn't answer. She closed the folder like it burned her fingers. How long have you known? I stayed quiet. She looked up at me, eyes full of something that almost passed for shame. You just sat on it? I nodded once. Didn't need it to confirm what I already knew. Tears welled up, but I didn't flinch. I'm sorry, she whispered. I know it doesn't fix anything, but I am. I believed that she meant it, at least in that moment. But it didn't matter. You don't get to fall apart now, I said. You already made your choice. She stood, folder clutched tight to her chest. I didn't know what else to do. Everything was falling apart. No, I said. You were just done pretending. So was I. She looked at me one last time, searching for something. Anger, forgiveness, even pity. I didn't give her any. She left without another word. She didn't leave right away. Anne stood just inside the doorway, clutching that folder like it was the only thing keeping her upright. The skin around her eyes looked tight, like she hadn't slept. Her mouth opened, closed again. Then finally. How long did you know? I kept my eyes on hers. Long enough? She winced. Why didn't you say anything? Because by the time I knew, it didn't matter anymore. She took a shaky breath. So that's it? You just gave up? No, I said. You did. I just followed your lead. Her grip on the folder tightened, her fingers whitening. She looked down at the pages again, like maybe they'd change if she stared hard enough. I didn't think you'd be this cold, she said quietly. I'm not cold, I said. I'm done. She shook her head, eyes glassy. I didn't plan it like this. Sure you did, I said. Not all at once, but piece by piece. You lined it up, justified it, wrapped it in excuses. And when it blew up, you played confused. Her lip quivered, but I didn't move. No rush to fix her mess. I kept hoping you'd show up angry, she said. That you'd yell or something. At least then I'd know you still gave a damn. You wanted a fight, I said. I wanted peace. Silence filled the room. She looked around like she just now realized where she was. Cracked tile floor, hand-me-down furniture, a beat-up couch that didn't match anything. This is where you live now? She asked. Yeah. It's awful, I shrugged. Still feels better than that house ever did. She swallowed hard. I thought I needed more. Thought maybe someone else would see me in a way you couldn't. I did see you, I said. You just stopped being someone I recognized. She blinked fast, holding back tears. So what now? We just walk away like none of it mattered? No, I said. We walk away because it did. She didn't know how to respond to that. I watched the gears spin behind her eyes, trying to figure out if there was still a way to pull sympathy out of me. There wasn't. I want to make things right, she said finally. You can't. She took a small step forward. I mean it. You already made your choice, Anne. I just let you live with it. The words landed like bricks. She didn't argue, just stood there, shaking her head like she'd been handed a sentence she didn't agree with. I didn't want this. You just didn't think it through. She looked at me for a long moment, like maybe there was something still left to say. Then she turned and walked to the door. She paused, hand on the knob. Do you hate me? She asked, not turning around. No, I said. But I don't miss you either. She opened the door slowly, stepped out into the hallway, and closed it behind her with a soft click. I stood there, staring at the empty space she left behind. There was relief, yeah. No more guessing, no more pretending. But there was something else too. Not sadness, not really. Just the weight of knowing we let it rot for too long before either of us had the guts to call it. I didn't move for a while after she left. Just stood in that same spot, staring at the shut door like it was holding back the last 10 years. Eventually I sat down, cracked a beer, and didn't think about her again. The next morning, I went to work like any other day. Nothing special. Oil changes, brakes, one blown transmission that took up half my afternoon. I didn't mind. Grease on my hands felt better than emotions anyway. A couple days later, Tim swung by the shop. He leaned against the open bay door, sipping gas station coffee and squinting at the sun. You look like you finally slept. Maybe I did, I said. He smirked. Heard Anne's little love story went sideways. I didn't ask how, didn't need details. I heard. She's not doing too hot, he said, but I guess that ain't your problem anymore. Nope. He looked at me, real quiet for a second. You all right? Getting there. That was the truth. I didn't feel broken anymore. Didn't feel like anything was missing. Just felt clear, like the noise had finally cut out and left me with space to think. A couple weeks passed. Anne never reached out again, and I didn't waste a second wondering why. Her mess was hers now. One night, I got a text from Kevin Miller, guy I used to work with back when I had dreams of starting a side business doing custom work on old Chevys. We tried it for a year before life got in the way. Marriage, bills, and everything else that killed ideas before they could take shape. He wanted to meet up. We grabbed burgers at that dive off Route 17. Still smelled like burnt onions and fryer grease, just like I remembered. Kevin slid into the booth and cut right to it. You ever think about starting back up again? I raised an eyebrow. The shop? Yeah, I got some capital now. My cousin's selling off a garage outside Lexington. Cheap. Needs work, but it's got bones. I leaned back in the booth. That's 2 hours from here. Exactly. He didn't have to say more. A clean break. New town, new routine. No history staring me in the face every time I bought groceries. I told him I'd think about it. On the drive home, I realized I wasn't just thinking. I was picturing it. The smell of fresh paint and motor oil. The feel of a real wrench in my hand, building something from scratch. The next day, I got a call from Wilkins, the lawyer. Just wanted to let you know we're finalizing this week. One more signature and it's done. I nodded into the phone. Appreciate it. Most people are a mess by now, he said. I'm not most people. He chuckled. Clearly. After I hung up, I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the floor. It was weird. For the first time in years, I wasn't waiting on anything. No arguments, no fake makeups, no guessing. Just forward. I looked around the apartment. Still ugly. Still smelled like someone else's past life. But it was temporary. Everything was temporary now. I had just finished texting Kevin back, told him I was interested, nothing official yet, when my phone lit up again. Anne? I stared at the screen as it buzzed, didn't move, just let it ring until it cut off. Seconds later, the voicemail notification popped up. I played it. Her voice was softer this time, less controlled. Hey, I know you probably don't want to hear from me. I get that. But I was hoping maybe we could talk, just once. A real conversation, no fights, just, can we meet? She didn't cry, she didn't beg. But there was something raw under the words. I sat there staring at the wall for a full minute, then grabbed my keys. Not because I wanted to fix anything. I just needed it over, with words face to face, so she'd stop trying to claw her way back into a life she'd already burned down. I told her to meet me at the park off Ridgeway, the one by the softball fields where nobody ever went this time of year. Cold wind, empty benches, perfect for finishing what she started. She was already there when I pulled up, bundled in a coat I hadn't seen before. She looked smaller than I remembered, sitting on the bench like she didn't know what to do with her hands. I didn't sit, just stood in front of her, arms crossed. You got 5 minutes, I said. She flinched a little but nodded. Okay. She stood up slowly. I know I messed up. I'm not here to argue that. Good. I've been thinking about everything. The house, us, what I did. I thought I wanted something else. But now, I just feel... She swallowed hard. Lost. Should have thought about that before you started sleeping with someone else. I know. She blinked fast. I know. I thought I needed more, but it wasn't about him. Not really. It was about me feeling empty. And I blamed you for that. That's not fair. I shook my head. You don't get to unload this on me now like it's some shared mistake. She stepped forward. But maybe if we talked back then... Anne, I cut her off. Don't. She stopped, eyes wide. You won't even hear me out? I've heard enough. I heard you the night you pushed those papers across the table without saying a damn word. I heard you every time you lied to my face. I've heard all of it. She looked wrecked. I could see her shoulders sagging under the weight of everything she'd finally admitted to herself. I'm sorry, she said again. I know that doesn't help, but I am. I nodded. I believe you. Her face shifted. Hope flickered for half a second. But it doesn't change anything, I said. You had your chance. You spent it. Tears finally came. She wiped at them fast, like she was embarrassed to be crying in front of me. I just didn't think it would end like this. It ended a long time ago. You just didn't want to be the one to turn off the lights. She let out a shaky breath. I don't even know who I am anymore. That's your problem to solve. She looked up at me like she wanted one more piece of me. Something. Comfort. Guilt. Maybe just a softer goodbye. I didn't give it to her. You need to take care of yourself, I said. Whatever mess you're in now, dig yourself out of it. I'm not your safety net. She nodded, lips pressed tight. Yeah, okay. I turned and started walking back to the truck. Wait, she called out. I stopped but didn't look back. Do you hate me? She asked. No, I said, but I don't feel sorry for you either. I got in, shut the door, and drove away without watching her fade in the rear view. This time, it felt like the last time. By the end of that week, I started packing. This time, it wasn't out of anger or heartbreak, just purpose. I sold off my share of the shop to Carl, one of the junior guys I'd trained up years ago. He offered a fair price, and I didn't haggle. I didn't need it anymore. That part of my life was done. Tim helped me load the last of my stuff into the rental car. You sure about this? He asked, handing me the last duffel. Yeah, I'm sure. He nodded, didn't argue. You'll keep in touch? Probably not, I said with a smirk. He laughed, then pulled me into a quick hug. Don't screw up your new start. No promises. The airport was quiet, midweek, midday. No chaos, no fanfare. I sat at the gate with just a carry-on bag and a worn-out hoodie. Felt lighter than I had in years. No house to go back to, no mess waiting on the other end. Just Lexington and a blank page. Right before boarding, my phone buzzed. Anne, just wanted to see if you're okay. No punctuation, just like the first message she ever sent after I left. I stared at the screen for a second. Then I locked it and slid it into my pocket without replying. Some people want peace, others want forgiveness, and that she wanted both. I owed her neither. When I stepped onto that plane, there was no dramatic pause, no look back at the terminal like I was leaving some big piece of myself behind. I found my seat, buckled in, and leaned back. Window seat. Clear sky. The engine hummed to life, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel stuck. I wasn't waiting on anyone, wasn't chasing answers or trying to fix something that should have been buried years ago. I didn't feel angry, didn't feel sad, just ready. It was strange how fast life can pivot. One dinner, one envelope, one silence too long, and suddenly the old version of you is gone. I used to be the guy who sat across from her every night, hoping things would change, pretending it wasn't broken. Now, I was someone else.